All right, building a team. Start with your family and closest friends. They can do great things for you. Help you walk precincts, help you raise money. Once you have your lawn sign designed, help you distribute lawn signs. And it's like venture capital, right? If you can't put your own money in, then why should anybody else invest? If your own family won't support you, then why should anybody else?
Yes, and to be a candidate, you need to have a heart-to-heart conversation with your family. Does your family support you, especially if you have a spouse and you have kids at home? That is very, very important. And everybody has to understand the realities of how much time it takes to run for office and what the sacrifice is for the family, whether they're going to be in, pictures on, mail pieces, whether they want to be in TV ads with you. Sometimes there's going to be bad stories, and they may be in the stories, so you have to have that realistic conversation with your family.
Eventually, you have a chance to draw other volunteers. They are worth their weight in gold. Feed them, nourish them, take care of them. As Fiona said, give them a lot of love. Be there. I spend a lot of time with volunteers. I make sure that I'm working the longest of anyone on the team. And volunteers draw energy from that.
Yeah. That's right. Like I said, you have to be willing to work harder than your volunteers. And I don't work and volunteer on people's campaigns unless I see that that candidate wants to win and is working hard. Because if they're not in the office and not doing everything that we're doing as volunteers, I'm not in.
And at the end of a long day, there's a little bit of downtime, and make sure that you come in to the campaign office and hang out with your volunteers for 30 minutes and tell them about your day, ask them about their day, tell a couple of war stories. There are still stories circulating around the Pacific Northwest about how this warhorse, Scoop Jackson, senator, would always kick up his feet and spend time with his campaign workers at the end of a long day. That is very, very much appreciated. Paid consultants. Eventually, the paid consultants will either come around or you will have to go look for them. And frequently, you can get the paid consultants to be somewhat interested if you're building a good campaign, because they will kind of take you on the come. They will invest some free time in you, hoping that you will have a successful campaign and be able to pay them further in the campaign.
Yeah. But that goes back to how good a fundraiser are you, or how much money you have to pay the consultants. Each consultant is minimum $5,000 to $10,000 a month. And depending on how long your campaign is, that's a fast burn rate, right? And consultants shop around as well. They're not going to take you just because you're willing to pay more. I mean, they want to have a winning candidate on their list, their success list. So you need to make sure you're doing your due diligence before you go and pitch a campaign consultant. Have your platform ready. Have some supporters who are committed and endorsed you already, right? Maybe have some friends that are well known in the community, like Sandy or Cece. Try to also talk to these consultants, saying, what, we're behind them as a community, because it's very competitive out there, and everyone, when you run, people are going to say, who's your consultant? And if you don't have a good, legitimate consultant, then they kind of think, maybe you're not ready for the prime time.
I do have a list in my head, and there are national organizations, there are local organizations. I mean, there's sort of a known network, nationally, locally, statewide, and you should seek them, right, Barry? And there'll be some people who are interested, and Fiona's right, it's very expensive, but hopefully some of them will work for you for maybe a month or 2 months, expecting that you'll be paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars later when you've been able to raise more of your money. there are, for different scale campaigns, you scale up differently. So if you have a city council race, you may not have a consultant. For a city council race or for a supervisor, yeah, you may have a few. For my congressional race, I had a general consultant. He was to supervise the entire campaign, paid staff, volunteers, but most of all, he ran herd on the other consultants and make sure that they weren't overpaid, that they were doing a good job and that the campaign was getting value for its dollar. We had a media consultant, television, radio, and these days, media consultant would also be responsible for the internet. We had a field consultant, outreach to the field. We had a pollster responsible for polling, and the entire team is responsible for developing a message and pumping that message out.
Just had a question because I ran in a more local race. It was a state level race, not Congress, which would, you know, you can raise more money for that. But, oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. Oh, so the race we're always looking for free help because we don't have a lot of money, especially if you're running in a local race. What does the party do? Because I feel like in my district, the Democratic Party is much stronger, so I feel like they have a lot more resources for their candidates, and the Republican Party doesn't because they kind of wrote off my district because it's 3-1 Democrats to Republicans. But there are times when the party does seem to help, and then when they think you're going to be able to run, they'll pay for polling or they'll pay for that kind of stuff. How do you figure out where are the more free help that you should be able to get? And I talked to one state person that ran in Virginia, and he basically was more integrated with the Republican Party, and they were more in Virginia, and he basically called up the Republican National Committee and said, hey, I'm running, I need money, you need to give me some money, and they did. I didn't do that because I didn't think they would give me any money, but are there lessons that we can take from that?
Well, Fiona, I'm going to let Fiona address the California aspect of this, but the national aspect of this is that the party will not be involved if there is a primary between 2 Republicans, 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats, 3 Democrats. They'll only get involved after there's a party nomination.
But even after that, how do you get their attention or interest?
If they're a really dumb party, they won't be interested. But if they want that seat, you know, they're going to jump in and support the party's nominee. So the party will be in. There are certain exceptions, but they really have a self-interest. This is a heavily Democratic state, and there are all sorts of wrinkles, and as Tip O'Neill said, all politics are local. So unfortunately, I'm not as familiar. So Fiona?
Yeah. So in California, we have a very strong party system, and the Democrats are all going to vie for the Democratic Party nomination. But that means working the delegates. And if you're running in a statewide office, state assembly, state senate, constitutional office, and you don't know who the delegates are, you're probably not going to get the party endorsement, right? So in California, you really need to invest. Our party is coming up, Democratic Party is coming up in February in San Jose. Anyone who's interested in California politics, call me. I'll get you, visitor passes, floor passes. But that's where you really start when you're, at an advanced level. But at the lower levels, school board, city council, board of supervisors, those don't have a party label. So it's really, you're running on your own record and your own name and your own efforts, more at the local level.
You want to give them business, they won't take it. It's not, you have the money, you want to hire them, they are good. They say, well, I'm not going to take it. I just learned it the last few years. This is very weird. In any business, no one would turn down the business, right? But in politics, yes. So if you're a Republican, you want to hire the consultant that's a Republican inclination. You don't want to hire a Democratic side. Okay, and same as if you're a Democrat, you don't want to hire a consultant who is favored in Republican side. So you do need to interview them. You do need to talk to them, and then figure out, and then make a decision. Okay, sometimes like my race, when I ran for the state assembly last year, I couldn't. No one want to. Even I want to pay. They won't take the job. So I have to run it by myself. So when Andrew, you mentioned about what should we do on the fundraising, you come to this place this time to meet with Sandy and Cece. You did the right thing, okay? Because fundraising, you ask, not only you ask money, you don't ask anybody, okay? You don't ask the homeless for donation, but no way you can get money. You have to ask the big one, right? And then so they can write a bigger check and much faster. If you ask people to write $5,000 check, or you ask one person to write $100 check, you have to get 50 people to get 5,000, right? So that means if you get one, $5,000, that's much faster. And the $5,000 one, they generally have friends has another $5,000 donation too. So that's what you have to build it up. And then you have to build it up. You have to build the trust that people can believe in you, okay? You cannot just one day show up and say, Sandy, can you please donate $5,000 to my school board campaign? I mean, he doesn't know you. I mean, he's not going to give it to you, right, Sandy, right? So this is the right place to start it. And then you have to start it with your family, and you have to start it with yourself. You have to have a conviction. So-called, every time when I heard it, running for the president of the United States, you got the fire in your stomach. Okay, that's called burning desire. You want to do it. If you someone push you to do it, it's never make it. Okay, you got to want to do it. Okay, so that's called burning desire. That has to be there. Any position you're looking for. So, and that's why I'm always in the run. Okay.
It's going to vary based on the race. When you're running for a lower seat, like a smaller seat, you are going to have to do more of the work and run the campaign and try to recruit your family members. Maybe your kid is really good at stuffing envelopes, so that's what he's going to be doing. Your wife is really good at calling. She's going to be calling. I mean, that's what happens. You get your best friends in and your closest friends who are the most committed. And if you can raise more money, then you can hire more people, right, to help you do the jobs that, maybe you don't feel like doing or you don't like doing or you just need more help on. But, having your own base, understanding social media now, right? Social media is very important. Making sure, your website is current is important, because everyone's going to go to your website. And if it doesn't look professional, it has typos. When you click on to donate, it doesn't work. People are going to go, you know what, this person is not really serious about the campaign. So certain things you need to just have in order. And I'm more than happy to work with anybody here in the room that is thinking about running, in terms of, what you really need to do, what you need to do well, and, how to kind of decide, number one, whether you want to be a candidate and what it's like to be a candidate. And after you win, obviously, that's great, but the pressures don't stop after you win, right? So it's just a different set of dynamics. And I'm more than happy to be here to mentor any of you here in this room.